Get down on your hands and knees. Now imagine squeezing headfirst through a hole in the earth barely wider than your shoulders, into a tunnel so low you cannot lift your head, so narrow you cannot turn around. You crawl forward into total darkness. The air is cold and dead and still. And after a few meters the passage does something that makes no sense at all. It shrinks. It funnels down into a gap so tight you have to breathe all the way out just to force your ribs through it. And then, on the other side, it simply ends. A tiny bare chamber. Rock and packed earth. Nothing inside. No treasure. No bones. No tools. Nothing. Now here is the part that should stop you cold. There are more than 2,000 of these tunnels. They run under old farmhouses and country churches and empty fields, across Bavaria, across Austria, and out into much of Central Europe. People have been crawling into them for centuries. And in all that time, with all of our science, no one, not a single archaeologist alive, can tell you for certain what they were for. Who dug them? Why? And why anyone would carve thousands of tunnels barely big enough to hold a human body, and then leave every one of them completely empty. The Germans have a name for them, the Erdställe. Earth stables, roughly, though nothing was ever stable down there. In parts of Bavaria the country people called them Schlupflöcher, goblin holes, because the old belief was that little earth spirits lived below. Once you know the pattern, you start to find them everywhere. A hidden trapdoor in the floor of an old farmhouse. A shaft that opens behind a church. A hole in a hillside a farmer only discovers when his tractor breaks through the soil. Behind that unremarkable entrance is a whole system, cramped passages branching off, connecting small rounded chambers, sometimes stacked on 2 or 3 levels linked by vertical squeeze shafts. Some are only a few meters long. Others wind on for 50 meters or more through solid earth and rock. And the sheer count is staggering. Hundreds beneath Bavaria alone. Hundreds more across Austria. Still more scattered through Hungary, the Czech lands, France, Spain, Ireland, the same eerie idea smeared across half a continent. 2,000 tunnels and counting, because new ones still turn up nearly every year when somebody's cellar floor gives way beneath them. This is not some local oddity in one village. This is one of the largest and strangest digging efforts of the entire medieval world. And we have almost no idea why it happened. Start with the obvious guess: people hid down here. In a violent age of raiders, war, and plague, a secret tunnel under your house sounds like the perfect bolt hole, and for a long time that was the favorite theory. But actually crawl through one and the idea falls apart in your hands. These tunnels are hostile to human life. They are freezing cold. There is almost no ventilation. Keep a torch or an oil lamp burning for long and the bad air would choke you. There is no water. No space to store food. No room to lie down, and in many cases no room to even sit up straight. You could not survive in one for more than a few hours, let alone wait out a siege of days or weeks. Then there are the Schlupflöcher, the slip holes. At points the passages deliberately pinch down into openings so small that a grown adult has to go through flat, arms stretched ahead, wriggling like an animal. Some people call these defensive, choke points to trap an attacker. But they would trap you just as surely as any enemy. And here is the detail that unsettles the archaeologists the most. The tunnels are almost entirely empty. 1,000 years, give or take, and barely a single artifact. No pottery, no coins, no tools, no cooking fires, no rubbish, none of the mess human beings leave behind everywhere they actually live. It is as if thousands of people dug thousands of tunnels, and then no one ever truly used them. So if not shelter, then what? Every theory has been tried, and every single one springs a leak. Storage, cool cellars for grain or dairy. But they're the wrong shape and the wrong temperature, sealed off behind squeeze holes no farmer would ever drag a churn of milk through, and again, empty, with no residue of anything ever kept there. Escape tunnels? They rarely lead anywhere useful, most are dead ends that simply loop back on themselves. Mines? There is nothing worth mining in the soft earth they cut through. The one theory that refuses to die is stranger and quieter than all of these. Look at where the entrances keep turning up, under churches, beside old chapels, tied again and again to holy ground. Some researchers believe the Erdställe were ritual spaces. That the crawl down into the cold dark earth was itself a symbolic journey, a soul path, a seelengang, a place to commune with the dead, or with the spirits the country folk swore lived below. Perhaps you went down there to be symbolically reborn, or to send something on its way. It's a haunting idea. It might even be the right one. But it is almost impossible to prove, because, say it with me now, the tunnels are empty. No altars. No offerings. No inscriptions. No bones. Just the dark, and the silence, and the squeeze. Part of why this mystery has survived so long is brutally simple. You almost cannot date them. Dating archaeology depends on things: a coin dropped in a corner, a shard from a broken pot, a scrap of charcoal from an old fire. The Erdställe give you almost none of that. With nothing organic sealed inside, radiocarbon dating has next to nothing to bite on. What faint clues there are: the occasional tool mark on the wall, a rare stray fragment, their tight links to medieval churches and settlements, point most researchers toward the Middle Ages, somewhere very roughly 1,000 years ago. But somewhere in the Middle Ages is about as sharp as the science can manage, and even that carries a shrug with it. Some tunnels may be older workings reused later. Some may be later than they look. We are staring at one of the biggest coordinated digging projects in all of European history, and we cannot confidently tell you which century it belongs to, never mind which year, or which hands held the picks. And it was straight into that fog of not knowing that a far bigger, far wilder claim came crawling. You may have seen the headline. It goes something like this: that these tunnels are not medieval at all, but the surviving fragments of one vast prehistoric network, a Stone Age underground road running all the way from Scotland to Turkey, supposedly dug 12,000 years ago by some lost Neolithic culture. It is a spectacular story. It is all over the internet. And you should know, clearly, that most archaeologists flatly reject it. There is no real evidence that the tunnels of Bavaria physically connect to any tunnels in Scotland, or that they are anywhere close to 12,000 years old. The continent-spanning Stone Age highway almost certainly never existed. But here is the part actually worth holding on to, the thing that made such a wild claim sound believable in the first place. The density is real. The reach across half of Europe is real. The uncanny sameness of the design, cropping up in country after country, is real. And the hole at the center of it all, that nobody can say what they were truly for, that is completely, verifiably real. You don't need an imaginary Stone Age superhighway to feel the hair rise on your neck here. The honest, boring, well-documented facts are unsettling enough on their own. So strip away the myths, and look at what we are genuinely left with. Somewhere in the medieval past, across an enormous sweep of Europe, ordinary people, farmers, villagers, men and women whose names are utterly lost, poured an extraordinary amount of back-breaking labor into carving thousands of narrow tunnels down into the earth. They shaped them with care. They fitted them with deliberate squeeze holes. They anchored them to their churches and their homes. And then they left almost no trace of what any of it was for, so completely that 1,000 years later the cleverest people we have, armed with ground scanners and radiocarbon and every tool of modern science, still crouch at the mouths of these holes and shrug. Whatever the Erdställe meant, it mattered enough to riddle half a continent with them. And it was so obvious to the people doing the digging that not one of them ever thought it worth writing down. The answer was too well known to record. And now it is simply gone. So I'll leave you here, at the edge of the hole, in the cold breath of air rising up out of the dark. If you had to guess a hiding place, a holy place, or something we haven't even imagined yet, what do you think they were really for? Tell me in the comments. And I'll see you at the next one.